Ladies and gentlemen, before I start off, I have a confession to make here. I feel very uncomfortable when I see a deck. Okay. When I start speaking on a subject, on a topic, thoughts come in, words flow out, and when I glance at the deck, it seems to convey to me, hey, hold on, you're speaking something that's not on the deck. Audience is going to get disconnected. So look at me. Speak what I am showing to everyone. And I get the feeling that it's trying to control me, control my thoughts, control my creativity. Okay. Is that good? I don't feel comfortable when somebody tries to control my creativity, control my innovation, my thought process. Okay. So a few weeks back, when I was called to speak to an audience on the basics of IP, what IP is all about, what is IPR, how is it relevant, what should an enterprise do, I decided that I won't have a deck. I started speaking to the audience, talked about what's IP, the various forms of IPR and all that, and one thing led to the other. I went on to innovation. What is innovation? What is the connection between innovation and IP? How do you manage innovation? And when it comes to managing innovation, then again, it comes to the human factor, okay? Managing human capital, then managing people in a company, and the management principles. I was talking about all that. Then finally, when I ended, I was looking at the face of the audience. It was all blank. Then I realized I had started off with IP and ended with managing people. And what did the audience take away? What did they perceive? What was their perception about the discussion? Did I deliver value to them? I had created a lot of intellectual property on thoughts, creativity on different subject matters. But at the end of the talk, I could see that there was a very clear disconnect. The audience was expecting basics of IP. They expected me to deliver value to them in that area. I had generated a lot of IP, but delivered no value to the audience. So the deck that was trying to control me had a role, was actually managing me, ensuring that I deliver value. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a crux of what I want to say today. Okay. Okay. So let's talk about what an enterprise wants to do. Okay. An enterprise wants to have a sustained growth. Okay. And how does that happen? How can an enterprise, a company, have sustainable growth? It needs to create value and continuously create value, and that value creation becomes sustainable only when it has a positive economic, social and environmental impact. Okay. If it is a one-off, a shining star that just vanishes after a few minutes or seconds or whatever, it's not sustainable. Yes, one may have created value, but it's not going to be over a long term. Okay. So definitely a company needs to create value, okay, and sustain the process of creating value, and that's what is going to help the company grow. And how does it create value? By the IP that is generated in the company. What the company focuses on in terms of creating the IP. But that creation of IP, as I said, should be relevant to the company. Not all valuable IP that is created may deliver value to the organization. That's the crux of what Terry was saying a short while back. Okay. Not all valuable IP is that delivers value. The IP that's generated in an organization should provide to that company a competitive advantage. It should map to its offerings. You create an IP, you file a patent, okay, you have a trade secret or whatever. But if that is not converted to an offering that goes to the customer, okay, then you have a different paradigm. You are creating an IP for the purpose of licensing it out, which becomes a different paradigm, which is a different line of business. I am talking more from an enterprise that would like to protect its business, enhance its business by connecting with the customers. Okay. And of course, if you create IP, then for the sole purpose of licensing it out, then again, it should be something that IP that is generated for licensing out to the customer is something that a customer would be interested in, or when I say customers, in this case, it would be a set of companies which would want to license in these IP and then want to deliver to the customer ultimately. Okay. If it is not something that's going to deliver value to the end customer, either through an intermediary or directly, it's of no use. And then let's look at this IP. How does it become valuable to a company? It should be aligned to the strategy of the company. It should be part of the portfolio, IP portfolio that the company has, or it should be positioned as a nucleus of a new portfolio that the company is going to create. Okay? And it should obviously fit into the overall ecosystem. If it doesn't, then again it doesn't deliver value. We'll talk more about this portfolio later. We have talked about value creation, we talked about an IP value. Then we come to how is this going to be valued. What's important in a company is to choose the right valuation model. There are several that are available. If you choose a wrong valuation model, it's not going to help you. It's giving you a wrong picture of what you have. And you may be underselling it. You may not be realizing its full potential. So it's very important to choose the right valuation. And when you start valuing, you may value at an atomic level the individual IPs that is generated by the company, or you may choose to look at the entire portfolio, aggregation of all these IPs and see what's the value. And in general, the sum of the atomic IP values is never going to be the value of the portfolio. If so, it is not an engineered portfolio. I'll talk about it a little bit later. Okay. And of course, the value depends on the geography where you're positioning your IP through a solution to the customer, through an offering to the customer. It's very important. Its value will differ from country to country, depending on the maturity of the competitors in that particular area, in that particular country, and what are the alternatives that are available in that country. Then, of course, we have to keep in mind that some IP may be tangible, some may not be. Okay. Some could be licensed out directly or indirectly or in-house use, and indirectly getting into the products or the offerings to the customer. And there would be some that would have an intangible effect of enhancing the brand image. Okay. You have a certain number of IP, formal IPs registered, then the company would be looked upon as a thought leader. Okay. And creative company, an IP-oriented company, and that's an intangible brand recall. It's an intangible benefit to the company. People will recognize that company as a thought leader. Okay. That's important as well. So you have to give that importance as well when you are building a portfolio. Then, of course, as Weber was talking a short while back, it's important to look at the market and where in the life cycle of that particular invention or the IP you are positioning to the market, you are going to the market. If you are going too early, is the market mature enough to take that? If the market is not ready, the value of the IP is reduced. If you are too late, there are too many competitors, too many alternatives in the market, no value or rather lesser value. So being there, utilizing the IP the right time is very important, and one has to keep in mind all these parameters when one really thinks of valuing an IP, taking the IP to the market. Now, all these factors that came into the discussions we all tend to have point to how do you manage an IP, how do you determine its value, what is the process that you use. First, you identify what are the parameters what are the factors that influence the value. I am not going to go into all this, we all know about it, okay, we already talked about it. Yes, first identify the factors, then identify the risks. Okay. Risk is something that was again touched upon. Okay. It is very important to identify the risk associated with each one of these factors that impact the value. Okay. Then of course, as I said, you have to choose the right model. You choose the wrong model and we are gone. Okay. You are not realizing its potential. And as I said initially, I will come back to the portfolio. It is very important when you talk about delivering value, calculating the value of the portfolio. It is always important to go beyond patents. You look at all the available means of protecting and offering the company, whether it is patents, copyrights, trademarks, designs. What is important to have is an engineered portfolio that will have a mix, an appropriate mix of patents, trade secrets, designs, trademarks, copyrights, everything, to afford the best possible protection, or and not just protection, to deliver the best possible value to the company and to the market. Okay. And to do that, of course, you will have to analyze each one of these IP that is generated, how easy it is to be copied, how easy is it to come up with alternatives. If it is going to be easy, then its value is going to be reduced. Okay. Let us look at all these parameters, and that is why I always keep talking about engineering a portfolio. You can have a portfolio which could just be an inventory, or you could engineer the portfolio to ensure that circumvention is not possible. You cannot come up with a lookalike. There are several examples in the market. If you look at it, you will find there are some products which have absolutely no lookalikes, legal lookalikes in the market, whereas there are some products where you will find every second product in the market looks like the others. They may have their own differentiators internally, okay, the function wise they may be different, but at first sight when you look at some of these products, you will think, oh, what is this product? You need to look at the label to find out. In other case, you will definitely find some products which are unique. You can identify them from a distance. I am sure that you can relate. And of course, to have all this, as I said, you need to institutionalize an IP program that is sustainable. Okay. Okay. And this is something, what is that sustainable IP program? This is something that I have been talking about quite a lot, and in fact, I went into great lengths in explaining this in the last GIPC. So I don't want to go through the details of this, okay. But you need to have a program which will manage the IP, which will identify the policy, the roadmap, what the company is going to go over X number of years and what is the objective. You need to have a process, IP process within the company, okay. And obviously, as I was talking about, you need a right portfolio, an engineered portfolio. To have this, once you define a program, you also need a way of measuring its maturity. You need to define a model to measure, to monitor, okay, to ensure that the program that you have put in is reaching its objective. So define a maturity model. Okay. To summarize, I can go into this in great detail, but I don't think we have the time right now. So I just want to say, institutionalize an IP program, define an IP process, engineer the portfolio, define the maturity model to measure if the program has met its objectives, the impact, and is it delivering its value. Check, plan, check, plan, do, check and act. That is what I would like to say, and it goes this. Thank you.